You know how to work this. You know how to work this. Let's see. Don't be a liar. Look, turn to the left. Turn to your left.
All right, good afternoon, everyone. We are resuming the afternoon portion of today's May 3rd budget hearing. We're in the Atlanta City Council reviews Mayor Dickens' proposed FY24 fiscal budget. We heard a little earlier from AFSCME. We're going to hear from the other employee unions today, beginning now with PACE. And we don't know at this point if we will be able to hear from police and fire, as I think we're all well aware of by now. There's a lot going on today that's going to occupy our public safety people. But Ms. Pagnata Murphy, if you're ready, why don't you introduce us to your team and take it away?
All right. Good afternoon. City Council, it's been a minute. Okay, the first and foremost, before we get started, I just got some news a few minutes ago that one of our commissioners that we work, that's very union friendly with us, Commissioner Good, has taken severely ill, and we want to ask for your prayers and prayers from our higher authority of being to give her a speedy and healthy recovery. We also want to do a quick silent for a minute in prayer for the victims that have just been shot by an active shooter. We're all horrified to hear this news, and we hope that our extravagant police force and everybody involved, SWAT team, will capture this person immediately. So if I ask just for a moment of silence for these folks, I appreciate it.
All right, let's have a moment of reflection. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, this is PACE presentation. My name is Gina Pagnata. I am the president of PACE, and we are here for partnering with the City of Atlanta to collaborate, connect, and champion for our members first and foremost. That's who we advocate for. On the second page, you got the PACE overview. I'm not going to read all through that, but we want to make sure that you understand that the reason we exist is because city employees often feel they have no recourse for their claims to be properly vetted and secured. And employees believe that if they report any unlawful activity or mistreatment asserted on them from their management, it will result in the demise of their job, even if their assertions are proven true. That's why we exist. We're here to be their voice, and why we come to you as often and partnering and getting wrong right. On the next page, we were able to show you exactly how our executive board hierarchy is. I don't think we've ever shared this with you before. Some of the senior council people that are here and the new council members of how we actually operate. I'm not going to go through the detail, but you can see I'm the president, and the gray area at the top is our executive board officers, which we have here. And then we have a regional office that's in the white boxes that you probably, most of the commissioners see them the most. They are our representatives that go out and represent these people, and with the legal team that we rarely hope to have to use. The other boxes that are in gray area, those are our stewards that we have allocated to those departments that keep us abreast of what's going on and what's happening in the city. And what we do, we afford protection to our classified and unclassified members from unfair personnel actions. We formulate a framework from bringing paid benefits in line with current government standards, and we promote an effective path of communication for our members. So let's switch to the next side, is the E911 concerns.
Can we pause for a moment?
Excuse me?
What?
Yeah, do we have any sense of what's going on and why?
That the 911 operators here?
Yes, sir, 100% correct. You can stop it now.
It is.
This bell goes 24/7 days a week.
It's not y'all.
Give him a gift. There's nothing that you all are doing here.
All right, so I believe we're all probably looking at the same text, which,
What happened?
which indicates there's another location on Peachtree Street that is where there is a, quote, heavy police presence, but it looks like nothing's going on here, so pending information to the contrary, let's continue. Ms. Lewis.
And if anything happen, I got everybody. Don't worry about nothing. I got my folks. They're on the way. They're gonna make sure we good, y'all.
All right. So sorry for the interruption.
That's okay. We extremely understand, and we just hope that the interest downstairs, that they have secured that area to make sure nobody gets in that's not needed to get in.
Yep.
So hopefully.
All right. Everyone's
All right,
a little
move
on
on.
edge today. So go ahead.
So thank you, Councilman Amos. That is correct. That is the bell that's being played in the E911 Center that has caused a PTSD, emotional stress, in which we're going to skip page 2 and 3, go on to the hazardous noise level. That bell is what you heard is no joke. That bell is continuously ringing. That sound irritation does not need to be loud. We can use white noise, which is perceived as a continuous background. It is used to overstimulate and irritate a captive and disrupt the cognitive processing. Noise below 80 dB can impair task performance, particularly on complex, multi-component tasks that involve additional attentional processing, and there is some evidence to suggest that noise interferes particularly with information integration. And this is a form of classical conditioning, and that can include anxiety, inability to relax, irritability, restlessness, and physical discomfort, stress, fear, or panic, and high levels of feeling wound up or desire to escape a situation, triggering the sensory overload. Understand now this bell was put in place, and all of this that does, this is nothing that PACE has come up with. This is actually from what causes this disturbing noise. It causes PTSD. We've had 2 members that, one in a personal setting, went to a post office and heard a bell and had a PTSD moment. And then we had another person that had a breakdown within the department because in that area because they could not take that bell anymore. And so we've asked numerous of times to shut that bell down. And Councilman Liliana, you, councilperson, you were the one that was able to come out. I don't know if you recognize that bell, but kudos to Commissioner Smith, who did come out with us, and she did hear the bell. However, at this point, she said we should do her best to try to do something about this bell, but this bell needs to stop. The light, because also it's a light that blinks as well as that bell goes off. And the reason for that is, you would like to explain that?
It's to let you know that there are callers on the line. But due to the short staffing at the center, there's always going to be callers on the phone, on the line. It's on. So due to the shortness of the staff, the bell is gonna always ring. If we have 5 people answering the calls, you have numerous people coming through the city. It's always going to ring until we have appropriate staffing put in place. That bell is going to ring. Even if we have now, with the surplus of people coming into the city, you can still have 12, 13 people on the phone. But you have a weekend like we just did this past weekend with the concerts, it's going to consistently ring. And that bell doesn't do anything but make the operators agitated and rush off the phone and probably leave out pertinent information while taking a call.
And that consists of many errors to your citizens. We brought this to management several times, past years. Nothing has been done. At one time, they turned it down, and next thing we know, they turned it back up. So we're asking that, with the help of Commissioner Smith, Council really looks into this and see if we can eliminate that bell altogether, because there's nothing, at the end of the day, that bell is going to continue to ring because we're short-staffed. Because we have an influx of everybody coming in, this is the new little Hollywood now, and I heard allegedly Disney World is trying to come in here. We're growing tremendously. We need to do a complete overhaul on how E911 should operate, how many people we need. Right now, even if they fill up these seats right now magically, we still need more people because of the influx. Training to E911 needs overhaul. We need to make sure that we hiring these employees, no disrespect to the ones already hired, but we need to make sure that they get extensive personality testing, sensitivity training, and they need to have thick skin, whatever you call thick skin means, because a lot of them get these calls. Some of them are younger, no disrespect to the millennium, but when you're not have the maturity to answer these calls, you're talking or you're asking bad questions or you're losing your sense of hearing someone getting shot over the phone. They don't know how to go into action. And you can speak on that for me more than that, right?
So with the training process, it used to be maybe 2 years ago, the training department had where you would train for 911 first, and then you would train for dispatch. Now they've combined those training. You do both. I train on 911 first half, and then they'll train on dispatch second half. It's overwhelming to these employees, whether they're young, whether they're middle-aged, whether they're older. It's too much. Most jobs that you've known is corporate jobs, typing jobs. This is not that. You can't train Excel and just expect someone to pick it up with the call taking. It's not going to happen. So we have a young lady, a couple of employees now with the dual training. That's what they integrated both. It's overwhelming. You can't learn everything that you need to learn on dispatch and then expect them to learn everything they can learn to take an effective 911 call. That needs to be split back up. It was effective when they did it before. It needs to go back to that. It's a disservice to the employees.
And the citizens.
And the citizens, it is.
So our suggestions for E911, because we don't want to continue to beat them up, there have been major improvements with accolades going to Commissioner Smith and her team, but we still see some needed growth here. Due to the city's growth and migration, we need to reevaluate the staffing levels, which we talked about, eliminate the dual training. There should be an integration of systems similar to the tool Calabrio, which is currently used in ATL 311 effectively, that can eliminate manual errors. We've asked about this a while. Call and staffing data needs to be audited routinely to ensure accuracy and relevance for business needs to optimize performance. Separate E911 from APD to be managed by a commissioner, in which that position should be open competitively. Establish quarterly labor management meetings with the E911 executive leadership team, which we currently do not have. Institute 2 15-minute breaks and 1 30-minute uninterrupted lunch breaks away from their desks. These people are eating at their desk and they're coming in. As soon as they come into work, just think right now, you call me to the table, Councilman, and you ask me to begin our presentation, but I'll get up here and say, okay, I got to take my break first. Give me 15 minutes, then I'll talk to you. That's what's happening at E911. Soon as they clock in, they go on first break. What's the purpose? What's the point? That needs to be looked into, and that needs to stop. They need to maintain a staff of reserve dispatchers and call takers for personnel relief, and create incentive payment for those E911 that has certifications, EFDs and EPDs, at least a minimum of $1,000. We can come to the table, PACE is willing to come to the table with the Commissioner of HR and the Chief at that time to discuss this, because this is similar to the ones of the combination inspectors. Y'all remember, some of you all remember that work we did with that. So this is something similar. Let's look at that, and that gives incentive to these folks that can really be mature and be very productive if they have these certifications. They get that more intensive training and be very volatile, you know, to help out with these citizens that calls in. Kudos, though, even though we do our complaints, this year is a little different for PACE to you. We're giving kudos to E911. And the reason we're giving kudos because the long-awaited lactating room that we've complained about, Commissioner, Councilperson Liliana, it's been completed and is ready for use, and thanks for you all's intervention and DHR. Many thanks to Commissioner Talisha Smith and her team, who interviewed all the shift's employees per PACE request and have been instrumental in implementing certain immediate changes that was needed. PACE will continue meetings with DHR and Labor Relations to keep up with employee concerns to find a balance with work productivity and positive management oversight. And we also give thanks to the employees and the leadership for allowing us to continue to send out surveys to its employees in collaboration with the Commissioner and Employment Engagement for positive feedback or negative feedback so you know what's going on in your department. Moving on to ATL 311, we've been working diligently with Commissioner Good. We do not have anything negative to say about her department at this time, so all the kudos goes to her and her team. She has taken by meeting with us continuously, what we reported in 2022 have been reviewed, escalated, and resolved. PACE currently has quarterly meetings with her to keep up with those concerns, to find a balance and oversight. And we also want to give a shout out to those employees in ATL 311 for their hard work and perseverance while they were going through a reset in that arena. As you know, they've had changing over in management. Most of them are working from home, and they have a lot on their plate. So we appreciate that. And we also appreciate the fact that Commissioner Good still allows us to do surveys. We do surveys in these departments upon the commissioner's approval so that they can get the feedback. They don't have to pay for no money out of their budget to do these surveys. We do. PACE takes it and does it ourselves. And we have send them graphs and what they need to work on, what areas and what those employees are complaining about. DPW kudos to Mr. Alfred Wiggins in collaboration with PACE. He continues to have monthly meetings with us. He recently showed me the command center, which serves as a nerve center for vehicles equipped with new routing software and GIS technology to enhance the response time for solid waste services, such as illegal dumping and curbside. And PACE will be monitoring its program throughout this year to ensure any operational success or no success, and we will be bringing you our reviews back to you so you know what's going on. He's also created a DPW advisory committee that is comprised of employees from various areas of the department to discuss better workplace efficiencies and possibly rebirth the employee initiative, managed competition, to find cost savings and a better way of working. We'd like to give shout outs to him and his team for allowing us to do surveys as well. However, Craig, there was one issue that you brought to my attention that you might want to share with the team regarding we got a last minute concern from employees about the desired.
The APR money?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I work at,
Turn your mic.
we had a lot of employees when I first came to the city, which is, okay, it's on. Okay, back when I first came to the city of Atlanta, we was getting paid weekly pay. And it's hurting a lot of employees in sanitary services by going into this bi-week. The week that we don't get paid, by me, I know how to save. You know what I'm saying? Because I've been here for a while. But we have some employees that some days I even feel sorry for them. They got child care. When they get their check on Friday, they come in Monday, the check is gone. So I wanted to bring that back up, that concern back up to you all to see why can't we start back getting weekly pay for public works employees in sanitary service.
PACE has talked, thank you, Mr. Craig. PACE has talked about this several times. We talked about this to all of the commissioners. I think we brought this to before council before. We went through several commissioners of HR. We mentioned that. And I had the opportunity, if I'm not mistaken, to talk to the chief of finance, Mr. Balla, before it was Mr. Norman. And Mr. Norman was saying, he was a commissioner at the time, not chief, the chief before Chief Balla, but it was a cost issue for the city to go back to weekly. But the irony of it all, we were doing it manually before we went into all of these chronos and all of these electronical device systems. We were doing manually because I was one of the accounts people that were doing this manually. I had over 200 members and I had pens, green, black, and red, and I had to put down everybody's time. They got paid weekly at that time. So now you're telling me that it's going to be too much for the city with electronically the new innovative systems that we cannot database or however the companies do it to say these group of people will get paid weekly. Those group of people are sanitation workers. We need to incentivize them. Let them get paid weekly. They're the lowest, some of them are the lowest paying group, part of that we need to make sure that they are handled with financial fiscal issues during their week. So that is a concern. That's something that we're going to be asking for and looking into. AIM concerns. Well, this is the first time we delved into AIM, and won't be the last. And first of all, I would like to thank Councilmember Antonio Lewis for referring these AIM employees to PACE to help get these issues resolved. Thank you, Councilman, for bringing them to. They came to him, and he referred them to PACE. And however, we have yet to come to a resolve that's favorable for all parties in which one employee was terminated for speaking out. And per this presentation opportunity, we look forward to meeting with the Commissioner of HR and Councilman Lewis again to assist in getting this issue resolved and bringing this employee back to work. And her name is Kim Nelson. Ms. Nelson, will you stand, please? Ms. Nelson was the training coordinator director for AIM, and she was given 90 days because she, we have not shared with what we're talking about, but she shared that we had employees remotely working, but not employees, but leadership, remotely, completely remotely working, and allegedly, because I have not got the proof, I have asked for it, but I did get an Excel spreadsheet of the financial fiscal payouts that they were getting paid for flying back in, getting paid for Uber, getting paid for hotel expenses, and more I can say. But I'm not going to give you facts until I get facts. That's how PACE is. But I wanted to let you know that that's out there. And Ms. Nelson was one of the ones that bought it, not just by herself, but a team of about 10 or 12 people, met at our union office, met with Mr. Lewis in his office, met again on a teleconferencing, and they were saying they're working out of class tremendously. Their employee terminations for sharing wrongdoings, and they have a hostile work environment by being bullied, harassed, and retaliated. Ms. Nelson was given a 90-day, saying that her department was diminished. They were resolving her because she's at will, she could be terminated, but yet her duties was shared with other people. So that lets me know if those duties were shared with other people, there's a need for that training coordinator director's position. So we're asking council or anyone else to relook into this employee and restore her back. It's clear retaliatorial. Thank you, Ms. Nelson. Our suggestion, and as I just said, that we need to ensure that these employees are paid their worth for the job that they do, and that means if we can have a sit-down discussion with the powers to be, labor relations, HR, and of course, Councilman Lewis, if you still want to be a participant with this, to see what we can do to get this department fixed. We want her restored. We want to begin quarterly meetings with that labor team and that leadership. And we also are going to start giving out surveys to the AIM department to find out what's really going on and get it in writing so we can give that information to the AIM. However, I want to give a shout out and kudos from PACE to its employees. By going through all of this, of everything that I heard from them made me go in tears. And I want them to understand that this union, and I'm hoping that you all are very appreciative of their, what they have done through pandemic, what they're doing now to keep this city, the network, the desk support top techs, the network engineers, the training manager, which this was at one time Ms. Nelson, and all roles in between that support the internal customers of the City of Atlanta by ensuring that our networks run smoothly. Hence, what you see on this board. And anytime your computer goes down, you do a ticket, those people need to be accoladed because they get you up and running. And we appreciate you. ATL kudos. We're just getting involved with them. One thing I want to say about the commissioner, he allowed PACE to come out. They had another mutiny almost with those employees saying that they were having to do this new difficult permit inspections process. They thought it was double working. They're working out of class. They were being disrespected. And they were almost to a point of doing a work stoppage, which we all know that's not what PACE has asked for. We don't engage in that. So we did make it out to that department. I had a meeting with their commissioner and the entire group, and we came up with a win-win. So that lets me know any commissioner that's out there that's listening to PACE right now, if you're not engaged with this union, that's a sad thing, because this union is not to fight against management and not to fight for employees when they're wrong. We like to partner. That's what we're about to do, the win-wins. It saves the city money from wrongful lawsuits that you lose. It saves us time and money in civil service when they go to civil service hearing. And anytime that you're terminating or doing something wrong, PACE can sit down at the table with you and let's have a knockout, drag out professionally and have a win-win. And we did. And after that, I was able to engage the employees, say, let's do what they're asking you to do. We'll monitor it. If it doesn't work, we'll come back to the table. They agreed, the commissioner is happy, and we move forward. So shout out to those employees. We appreciate you all for allowing us to advocate for you in a positive manner. Department of Watershed, we would like to thank personally, strongly, because this is one of the things that part of our MOU that you all signed and the mayor agreed upon in HR, a piece of verbiage in that MOU that we never had, that before you terminate any unclassified person, that there will be a committee that is stronghold by Commissioner Smith and her team or who she allegates to have PACE with that member to sit down and let them hear their side of the story. And we have saved some jobs from the city from being wrongfully terminated and being sued. And that's what we're trying to do. That's called partnering. So we want to first, for DWM was the first case we had that created this window, and we'll move on with that. But we want to thank with Councilmember Boone, Councilmember Bond, and Commissioner Browning, HR Director Hicks, and anyone else involved in instrumentally assisting PACE with restoring employees who were displaced from their employment erroneously. Thank you so much for bringing that to our attention. And those people are happy, they're back, and even in a better situation. And we're hoping that we can get Ms. Nelson on that bandwagon with the rest of them. The leadership continues to collaborate with PACE on a daily basis or quarterly basis, or anytime just picking up the phone and calling me and just asking, hey, this is what's happening, what's your thoughts? Or this is what we're gonna do, can you be available for this meeting? That's called partnering. And it's not a sellout on either side. It's about doing what's right. And that's all PACE is asking for, so to do what's right. AFRD, oh my goodness, Chief Smith. We've had a meeting with Chief Rod Smith. Thank you, Chief Rod Smith. He was able to stop that $35 or 30s, eliminate the parking fees for his civilian employees, which we've been asking for a long time, and we really appreciate him doing that. And we also appreciate him inviting us to a town hall meeting he had with the civilian, some of his civilian employees, and we were able to sit down and collaborate on issues, and he's willing to work with us and bring us to the table at any time we want to bring to the table. And it's very important that we also are sending out surveys to that. Mr. Jacob, would you like to say something on that? You're from the fire department.
As far as the
Touch your mic on.
survey is concerned,
Yeah, you can talk about anything you want to say that's positive or negative at this point. Just gave kudos now.
it is kudos. That is a positive moment for us to have those surveys. We'll be getting those soon. The only other thing I can think about would be the COVID-19 pay, the hazard pay. We were brought back, some of the members were brought back during the height of COVID. Even when the mayor at the time didn't want us back in the city, we were still brought back in. So we were just concerned about when and if we were eligible for that payment, because it was never received, along with the COVID comp time as well. We were told that there was a list, but we've never seen the list, and we didn't know who was on the list or who made the decision to either add people or remove people. If that was the way it went. But we were just concerned about that part of it.
And we will be discussing that as well. That's only one issue, but I think that's kind of globally as well throughout the city. There's still some we need to figure out what's essential and what's critical, who's getting it, who's not, because what we're getting ready to ask for, I know that's what y'all waiting on, and we're getting there. Just be a little bit more patient with me. We getting there. DPR, which is Parks and Rec, we're still trying to get in. I don't like to say the word infiltrate, but I did have one case with Mr. Voss, Doug Voss. I appreciate his tenacity with us for the first time, and I'm looking forward to a more positive. We did do a win-win. The employee was happy, and we're going to set up some schedule of meetings to let him know and do a survey to his area to let him know about the bullying and the mistreatment by behavior by his supervisors and managers. Department of Finance. Woo. Chief Baller, you just coming on board, so please have tough skin. This is not about you, but we're going to be looking at you to help fix these problems. Employees are concerned and complaining to me that leaders in the DOF are causing a tremendous hostile work environment for employees to include intimidation and retaliation antics. Employees are being blocked from promotional opportunities because of personal vendettas. We do have some cases on that that's proven. Workers' compensation and your risk management process is not effectively working. It needs an overhaul. Benefits taken out in lump sums of their employees' payroll when they return to work, which Ms. Shawanda, you can speak on that one real quick.
Yes, I was on workers' comp for like 5 months. Can you hear me now? Yeah. I was on workers' comp for like 5 months, and on my way transitioning back in to come back to work, I get a call from benefits stating I haven't been paying into my benefits unknowingly. I didn't know anything about that. And so when I returned back to work, my first check was like $4.50. My second check was $493. And my check that just posted today is $447. My check is just getting taken.
So we have reached out to Mr. Chief Baller. He did make an exception or tried to fix it for you on the second one, but it's happened again. And so this is just because she's on our executive board and we know directly about what this has happened. It's happening to a lot of folks that's coming back from workers' comp. And we got to find a way to fix that problem, because it takes you 2 weeks off workers' comp. They immediately stop your check, and it takes you 2 weeks to get a check, and in those 2 weeks you get $4. How do you live? So we got to look at that. And I'm thinking, Chief Baller, we will get together with that. I just wanted to let you be aware, because it might need some legislation. I don't know how that really works yet. I'm going to get in depth with that. But we got to make sure these employees are paid so they can pay their rent. The one thing that really hurts me to the heart is somehow, somewhere, the removal of the WorkSafe Atlanta Independence Committee to fall under the purview of the Risk Management Chief Risk Officer is not conducive to the needs of that committee. We need to restore it back to its origin. I don't know who decided to do that, but Pace, back in the days with COO Duria, Pace was the one that was very instrumental to create a citywide safety committee. We wanted representations for each person in the department, somebody, their safety officer, so that we can have a global, consistent safety operation. That everybody comes to the table and we decide as a committee, employee operated with leadership, and the mayor's office oversees it, but we let them know what's going on out there. Like, for instance, I still don't know, where's our fallout shelters for employees if we do have a serious tornado and those people are in the field? What do they do? We still haven't gotten an answer to that. We know about the exits when you're in your building and you're working, where it go this way like the airplane, go that way, go this way. But when you dig in and laying concrete and asphalt, where is your fallout shelter? We do not. And the way the times are going right now, if we are ever threatened by a bomb coming from another foreign country, what do we do? That is not set yet. I've been asking for that, and that's why we had this committee. Now I'm understanding that committee has been told to shut down. It's going to fall under risk management with one person designating what they're supposed to do, and that one person is that chief director. And I don't think that should be that way. That one person should not be the only one main person that should have anything to say what we're going to do and not do. In conjunction with the city council is the mayor of the city. One person should not determine safety that's not even qualified, and I'm going to say it again, in my opinion, and I stand my truth, not qualified that they should be to control the safety of all these employees in this city. And I stand my ground on that. Anybody can challenge me on that. I got the receipts. So what we're asking is WSA, that Work Safe Atlanta, was successfully working. We want it back to the way it was. If risk management wants to be a part of it, they can be a part of the committee, but not to be in the full control. We had this operating, and it should be operating good. However, I want to give a kudos to the chief CFO and the DCFO in collaboration with PACE, met with us. Thank you, Chief Baller, to meeting with us to discuss the budget, the fiscal issues that you're having, and some of the issues that you did work offline to help us when we advocating for our employees. One other thing, before we get into what you long waited, and I'm going to make it short, I don't want to run over time, but this is, you know me. I happen to be part of the Finance Academy. I don't know if y'all are aware of the Finance Academy. I'm proud. At first I was like, but I'm happy about it after I got in and indulged about what we're doing, because it is needed. We do need to pay these vendors. And what I learned in that academy is that we got 3 to 4 people, AP people, that does this disbursement for the entire city. How do they do that? Hats off to those people. Kudos to those people that do that job to pay our bills. Some people may think that our bills, oh, they're not doing this, but then I did not know we only have 4 people. That's a problem for me. So when this Finance Academy came aboard, kudos to Commissioner Smith, kudos to the administration for making that happen. And I'm gonna make sure I do my part of getting my 25 people done every Saturday. Also, I like it for that shared services, accounts payable, the people that run under that, that we have failed to mention. You are not forgotten. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Now, to the meat that you've been waiting for. And I hope you don't take the other stuff we talked about lightly. Hope you're taking notes, because we're going to come back to you with this other stuff. But now, here's PACE requests. They always told me, and I think Antonio Lewis, Councilman, with due respect, you said ask for everything you want to ask for and hope you get something. So we took your word upon that. So here we go. PACE is asking for a 10% increase in salary. And the irony of it, ASME is in agreement. First time in history, we need to put that down, note that for historical event. ASME and PACE is in agreement that we want 10% from grades 30 and below, and we even giving you an option. If you can't seem fit to do it at one time, we want it in writing that you will be able to do a 5% this year and 5% next year. We even want, if we're gonna go that way, then we want a 1%, 1.5% COLA of each year that happens. So that's our little incentive to allow you to have a 2 costs, 2 years. But we want 10%. The next one is premium pay. We want you to consider strongly to mirror what DWM did by including their premium pay into their eligible employees' base salary. We want these folks that's on this premium pay now, for that to be put into their base salary. It's overdue that these folks, we be paid what we're worth. If you can pay us that $412, you can put it in our salary. And the reason we want that is because, guess what? If you don't work an 80-hour, if I take a vacation or I'm out sick, that percentage is cut. So I'm not getting that full $412. So that's really not an incentive to me. What it's doing is making me not take off, come to work sick, or keep my vacation accruing and accruing and accruing. Then we either use it or lose it. And guess what I'm going to ask you about that? I want you to consider anybody that has overage and vacation, they be paid out. We can do an administrative order, or you can do a legislation, however is the easier way to do, but we want them to be paid out. Some of you are shaking your head, but I'm asking for everything I can ask for. You just figure out which one you want to give us. Okay, restoration of increments. Now let me say this, and this is going to come back to you, and I'm not going to get into the weeds too much of that, but it's going to come back to you in Finance Exec. When PACE finally figures out, we're in the workings of why and how. Before we went to salary ranges, we were in increments. That means when you first come into this city, you came in at the entry level. If the department wanted you to come because of your skill set above that entry level, some of you seniors like me that was here, we had a salary committee, compensation committee. Councilman Norwood, you remember that. And that was headed by the commissioner of HR. That department had to go before that commissioner and justify why we're going to bring these people in above level of entry. And we had, every year, we moved a step up to step 10. When these people topped out, we came back before council, and council did a legislation at that time to move it to another step, grade 15, or they did early outs. But guess what? We can't afford early outs this time. We messed up the last time and lost a lot of institutionalized people. We're not asking for an early out, we're asking for instrument restore. That will help eliminate salary compression, and that will give us the favor of each year I got something to look for than coming to begging you to give us some money. So you already have Chief Baller looking next year, what can we do, how much it's gonna cost to give these people a 5 or 3.5 to 5% depending on their evaluation. Which means the evaluation process need to be overhauled. Y'all got a lot of work to do. And I wish I had the time before today to do it for you, but we can't. That's not our role. Our role is to bring it to you. Evaluations need to be overhauled, and they need to be overhauled because if I don't agree with my evaluation, who do I take it to? I just don't sign it, guess what? Nothing happens to it. So we're gonna get that fixed. Modification in grade structure. This has not been done in over 25 years. Every time we turn around, departments are moving people that are classified to unclassified, whether they want to or not. A lot of people don't want to go unclassified, whether the money is there, it's a promotion or not, because they're afraid of losing their classified rights, being able to go to civil service. They don't want to be fired at will because you don't like me, you don't like the color of my hair, me and you don't get along, I just got hired, I'm bringing in a new team, you got 30 years, goodbye. That needs to stop. And how it stops is we need to really look at what was done in 1998 where the city decided to follow the state of Georgia, making people unclassified and classified. Classified are skilled workers and office workers. Unclassified was mainly for people that worked in, unclassified that work in the mayor's office or worked in a financial position where they can be fired at will. Normally, so what we're asking that you consider moving these classified positions from grades 25, on up, okay? And let grades below 25 to grade 9 or 7, which we shouldn't even have a grade 7 anymore, should be still classified. However, here's a caveat. If you're not willing to do that, well, we're asking for an option. They always give you an option that if these departments decide they want to move this person from classified to unclassified and that employee does not want to do that, but you're going to do it anyway, let them retain their classified rights. It's not a lot of them, but it's enough that disrupt the ability for that employee to work productive because they're afraid to come to work thinking they're going to be fired at will at any given moment. So that's one thing that PACE will be looking for on that. Longevity bonus, another ask. We totaled it up to $882,800. That's how much it would cost to give these folks, if my average could give or take more for you, what I got, the data that I got, to pay these folks their longevity bonus. It's been long overdue. We need to look at that and make sure some of these folks that can't get the premium pay, there's another option we're going to give you. The ones that can't get the premium pay in their base salary, let them get their longevity bonus. There's a lot of ways we can do things to incentivize. It's just you need to know what the employees are thinking and knowing and put it on your table to discuss. But we really do. You all voted on this longevity bonus. And I remember we asked for this and you all approved this. It's in the code because, or legislated, because we were having that problem with getting raises. We were having that problem of retaining good quality employees that's been here with tenure, that knows how to do things. And so we want to look at that, and it don't be construed as a salary increase, but we want it to be given not for raises, but for a retention bonus only. Okay? The pay and class study, we had a long list because we did some of our own pay and class study, but I decided not to do it and present it because we're giving Commissioner Smith and her team, you all finally got it on board. We were instrumental, PACE was instrumental in knowing that it wasn't going to be ready in November when we listened to you all trying to approve who the consultant would be. So we got on our podcast and on our news media and in our emails and let the employees know, forget it nicely. That's not going to be ready this budget, but I'm sure it's going to be ready hopefully by next budget. So Commissioner Smith has, and you all have approved a consultant, so we're going to lay low on that, give her an opportunity to do that pay and class study. But mind you, PACE will be looking, and we're doing our own internal from the information we get so we can monitor what's really being done. Next, vacation payouts, I talked about that. We don't want to use or lose it. Make sure it could be a one-time thing to do vacation payout. Sick leave policy, I do know that Commissioner Smith and her team is working diligently with us, and Candace Colas, her team, and so we want that revamped because right now we got so much inconsistency. The code says one thing, but people infer it differently. So you either out 3 days completely, and you can come to work on the 4th day without a doctor's note, or is it you out 3 days, and when you come in on the 4th day, you bring a doctor's note? And departments are reading it how they want to read it. Historically, in my understanding, you have up to 3 days that you can be out, if you got the time to, unless you put on like a habitual absence, and they're telling you up front, if you out, you got to bring in a note. If you're not, you can be out 3 days. Common cold, flu, COVID now, 3 days, you don't have to bring a doctor's note in. But if you out on that 4th day, on that 5th day, you got to come in with a doctor's note to return to work. That's my interpretation of the code. Now, if anything is different from that, we need to know, because we having problems with people getting written up, suspended, losing money, and terminated for abuse of a sick time. Next, mental health day. We need another day on a holiday. Mental health. That's from people with PTSD with the bell ringing, ding and dong, ding and dong. If I call in, I say, I don't have a vacation day because you got to get that approved. I'm not really sick. I just don't feel good to come in today. Can I take a personal day? We need to give these people that opportunity to have a mental day, okay? That's just the way it is. Let's look at how much it would cost the city to do that, and let's make it happen. We're working with Commissioner Smith on a career ladder advancement, and of course they should be involved, and we're going to be there with them. Child Care Assistance Program, next page. We've been asking for this for the past 3 years. I understand that you all have been discussing this. Thank you. Kudos to you and the administration. They're looking into this to partner with neighboring folks, these daycare centers, and should be a cost reduction to city workers. And eventually, I understand that there's a building being made in 2025. I think it was 2030, I believe. 2030. We want a place for employees to move into the city that can afford, that's making, if you grant that $412 into a $15 salary to make $1912, that they can afford an apartment, even a 1-bedroom. So they would quit sleeping in their cars. Yes, we have employees sleeping in their cars. We appreciate you all looking into that and helping out by strongholding the Friendship Club and assistance. And right now, I want to say thank you to that project coming back up, and any employees that's out there listening, I want you, if you can, donate to that committee or that program to help other employees that are not able to pay their rent and being evicted and sleeping in their cars. Police have set up an area for their trainees that's coming on the police force that are homeless, that they have a place to stay in their building, I think that is, or some building they set aside. We don't have that for city workers. So, yes, ma'am, we do have people sleeping in their cars. E911, just like fire, we asking you to help whoever can step in for us, because we've been asking for this, to stop that $35 for parking, The police, I love them to death because they are partners with us. We're in the same umbrella of the union. They don't have to pay the part, but those E911 operators over there, that building does. That's $70 a month. They need that money, and they need to get to work. So why are we allowing and making them pay that? We're asking to look to exempt them from that. And PACE members should not be in fear of coming to the union for losing their job in retaliation and stopping any eternal promotions. I want, when a person is promoted, they're going back on a 6-month probation. That needs to stop. At least 30 days. You know why? Because if they don't make out in that place, they can go back to their job. Because it takes the city about 30 to 60 days to get rid of that position or fill it. So 6 months, if you are promoted internally, you should not have to go on a 6-month probation. Because this has happened. They did not, on the 59th hour, they did not meet the cut, and then they had to get demoted or reassigned because their position has been filled. That's got to stop. That's something I'm sure me and the commissioner will look into. Last but not least, our PACE MOU, Memorandum of Understanding. Thank you all for signing that. That verbiage in there, this should be held every year. Train to supervisors, managers, and commissioners of what it is, what we're about, how we operate, and it should be held every year in that Oracle system like we learn everything else. And it should be, have a refreshers course, and it should be included in the onboarding process. And thank you, Smith, for, Commissioner Smith, for your team for this new venture. Did I leave anything out?
No, you got it.
Did I get everything, team? Okay. So, again, if you turn to the last page, we want to remind everybody, this is part of our new venture in IMOU. PACE has a podcast that we have, Radio Connections with PACE. We share information that you give us to get to our members. Anybody that gets the link can join in, listen in, chat in. We've even invited guest speakers on. We've had a couple, and we will be looking at maybe inviting you out to be on our podcast to talk about your needs in your districts, what's going on with you, what you need from us to share to the MPUs. And we're going to be doing that, quite frankly. It's going to be held. We were doing it every Tuesday because of pandemic, because people weren't at work. But now that we're back, we'll be doing it every other Tuesday from 1 to 2 o'clock. And last but not least, on the last page of thank you, on behalf of our members, we would like to thank all of the employees in this city of Atlanta for your hard work and dedication and keeping the city moving even when you are being treated unfairly. Thank you, Atlanta City Council, for the meetings and having us to present to you our budget. Mayor Dickens and his team, HR and Labor Management, for listening to PACE and acting upon the Employee Assistance Program that we forget that's out there sometime. And Department Commissioners leaders and the Accounts Payable team for the Finance Academy of a job well done. Thank you, and I hope that I didn't bore you at all.
Well,
any questions for us?
when you start boring us, that'll be a surprise to everyone. And I have to warn you, after 8 pages of kudos, people who don't know you might start thinking of you as a pushover.
Uh-huh.
Now, I want to say for the record that HR Commissioner Smith, as was the case for AFSCME, has been here and paying very close attention and listening to you, so I want to commend her for that. And thank you for this very detailed report. This is going to give us a lot of things to look at, and so when the HR Commissioner gets up, I'm sure a lot of us will have already had preliminary conversations with her. I will say the weekly payroll run is something I brought up with the CFO a while ago, and maybe I'm wrong, but his initial reaction seemed to be pretty promising about that. But I put up your hands for people who want to ask any questions. Ms. Bakhtiari, and then the Council President.
Hey, Gina.
Hey.
So where's Tarly? There she is. So I've already started texting the HR Commissioner about some of your asks, so I'll continue having that conversation. But also I just wanted to point out my Chief of Staff in the back, there's Nick. He is going to be reaching out to you today to go ahead and set up our regular meetings, because I know I dropped the ball on that.
Yes.
So I just wanted to take a moment to apologize. There's a lot of stuff going on right now.
I understand.
But he'll be reaching out to you today, you and Ebony today or tomorrow, so we get something regular going again. But as always, as Howard said, the day you bore us will be the day hell freezes over. So thank you for all of this. You went into great detail, and I'll be following up with you all on some of the asks and some of the, especially the mental health day piece and some of the other pieces that we've talked about, and always still wanted to check in about scheduling and how that's going down at the center. So we need to make sure that I check back in on that. But this is thorough, so thank you, I think.
Mr. Shipman, I'm sorry, were you done?
Yes, Howard, I was done.
Mr. Shipman, Council President Shipman.
Just a couple of clarifying questions. Thank you for the detailed, oh my goodness, for the detailed presentation. One is regarding the longevity bonus. Has that ever been implemented since it was passed by council in 2015?
One time.
Which year do you recall?
If I recall, it was when Mayor Dickens was first on council.
So that would be
Yes, because he signed off on the document.
17,
I think
maybe?
it was, yeah.
Like that, thank you.
We're way behind. So it was supposed to be yearly.
Thank you. On the mental health day, just again for my clarity, would you see that as just changing the policy so that that would be an acceptable reason, or do you believe that that's an additional day that should be added to the?
Both.
Both. Okay. And do you have any notion of what in the near term, what would be, obviously anything is helpful, but what would be a helpful child care assistance level?
Well, we have not, because each child care facility has different costs.
Right, exactly.
We really need to look at a percentage of what that employee could be on a sliding scale according to what that employee makes, and that would be something that we need to discuss. And of course, you know, I'm going to say the lowest one possible, but we got to look at it ethically for the business itself. And how much fostering would the city be employed with this to help that employee, if none at all? But that should be a sliding scale.
Okay, thank you. That's it. Appreciate it.
Mr. Lewis.
Thank you, Ms. Pagnata, for the detailed report. My questions were surrounding, first, I was told that the employee was not fired, but that they were given 90 days to find a new position because their job had ended. And I'm under the impression that they were supposed to look for a job, and then whatever job that they applied for, we would interview. That's what I thought was happening. Is that not?
No, sir. Well, part of that is correct, sir, and the other part is not. That employee is looking for work, but if that department does not hire that employee, what good does it do? First of all, when you tell an employee, I'm doing away with your position, I'm giving you 90 days, which is a nice thing, you know, it's like giving you a severance pay, but we no longer need your position or you, but yet your duties are being shared with someone else, then that position doesn't need to be ousted. And my historical dealing with things like this from the union's perspective, that was a retaliatory move, it was a personal move, because those position duties are still there. If they're still there, then that means you need it. So why are we getting rid of the training director?
And so here's Commissioner Smith at the microphone. So if there's not an objection, I'm going to recognize you, Commissioner, to respond.
Thank you, Councilmember Shook. I would not ordinarily stand up, and with all due respect to everyone who's speaking on this issue, I would ask that we refrain from speaking on the issue because of the sensitivity, and we are speaking about someone's employment with detail that would not normally be spoken about in public. So I'm just asking as a request to protect the employee and the organization, if we can have offline conversations about this. I am open and available to have discussions as needed, but not in this forum, and I would respectfully request that we not have this discussion in this forum to protect the employee and the organization with the information that's being discussed at this time.
Thank you. Noted.
Thank you.
Go ahead, Mr. Lewis.
And thank you. I think the next, so $35 for parking, that means officers are pulling up, they don't have to pay, but all of our folks got to pay.
Yes, sir.
And so that's something we need to work on as well. And when we say 10% across the board, I think just to ask me said 412, and then whatever the paying wage study, add that on top of it. Is that where, are you on the same page with that currently, or?
I'm not sure exactly, I missed his interpretation, but what you're saying, what we're asking for is 10% across the board.
Gotcha.
For people that, you know, at a certain grade level, because we've always done that. So I can only speak for my grades that we represent 30 and some 30 below some of the 18s. So we want 10% increase with that. Also the longevity and the ones that are getting premium pay, if they get their premium pay, then that would be, if they get their premium, the 412 in their check, then no, they would not get the 10% because that would average pretty much about. So that's what we were saying, the options. You can do the people that's getting premium pay, make them have in their base salary, the 412, and then 10% of the rest of the ones that's not.
Okay, and similar to with ASME,
Pretty much.
similar to it, the statement I made with ASME.
Yes.
If I'm a person in the city of Atlanta who's used to making $15 an hour, they add $4.12 to my salary 3 years ago, and I start living at that rate, it'd be very difficult for me to adjust my wages back down
Yes,
to
sir.
the $15. And I think that poverty, when we talk about social mobility in our city, we talk about our workers, I think that we would hurt them if we if that 412 is not permanent. So I wanted to make sure I say that, because I don't think I can go home to my wife if I went home $4.12 shorter for long, because my life has adjusted. So I want to make sure I stand on saying that I stand fully with that. And I also wanted to clarify that ASME, the 10% was, they said 412 and whatever the pay and wage study that comes out in December has on top of it, add that included. So
Absolutely.
That's what because they want the 412 ASAP.
Yes, we are 100%, yes, we are in
And so-
agreement with that.
Gotcha. I was just making sure.
Yes.
I know what we're fighting for. I appreciate you for coming in. I appreciate you also for protecting workers. The moment that we got you involved, you got me out the way. And what I mean by that, it wasn't a get out the way. It was like, hey, Councilmember Lewis, I got this. Thank you for bringing the employees to me. So I appreciate that partnership. I hope that we get it done. Hope we solve this issue. I don't know about the 90-day thing. We're going to figure that out.
Yeah, and just to respond on that, because with due respect to Commissioner Smith, we've been through this rodeo a lot, what PACE has, okay? This is our first engagement with Commissioner Smith. Every time our board comes up here and say something, as we call, and let you know what's really going on out there in the weeds, one of our board members or one of our members gets fired or terminated. If you all remember Kenneth Butler, that was one that we bought before he talked about ATL 311, and the irony of it all, the person that he complained about is no longer here. And now you all hired a new commissioner that turned that center around, and we have kudos to her for doing that, of what we shared with you was going on. And then we have the other person who's out there, I am Wales, and we're calling these people because it needs to be made known, these are union members. And when they speak out, they're getting terminated. So it's not going against any labor management or Commissioner Smith. We just want to make sure in front of council, on record, that this executive board, as long as we're not doing anything egregious or going out there and breaking the law, that when we come to you, because you invite us to come to you and tell you what's going on and ask, we want to be protected, that our folks will not get terminated or put on a 90-day. So that's all that was for.
And I'll say when the employees came to me, they were nervous the entire time. And so when I hear you full out, they were nervous the entire time we had the conversation. And that's why on the 90-day thing, to me, it should probably get extended another 90 days and she can go on vacation with pay until we find a job that's comparable to her. Because when you say fired, I ain't heard fired yet. What I heard is something different. So that's what I ain't heard fired yet from folks. So
Well, no, and I stand down with the word fire, but historically, when you put on that, when we've seen people put on that, we don't see them survive it. Because they gotta go out unless we're helping finding them a job. Those commissioners don't have to hire these people. They don't have a place for them. So that's something, in my opinion, that if it's warranted, HR, in collaboration with that employee, should be working with them to find, or talent acquisition to help them. Right now, to my understanding, that has not happened. And I'm bringing that to you because you brought that to us. And Councilman Boone had the same situation with the 4 other employees you brought to us, and we worked hand in hand, and they're back to work. So that's where we are. And as far as kudos, Mr. Shook, You know, this is the first time PACE has ever really come. This is why it should be historical. We rarely come up here and give kudos to anybody. We always come and complain. But the reason we giving kudos is because those leaders and commissioners has worked with this union and has resolved the issues that we don't have to come to you and complain about.
Understood.
Yes, ma'am.
Well, no.
Okay, we'll take care of that. They're going to handle it. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I stand corrected. It was 60 days, not 90.
All right. Mr. Hillis.
Thank you, Vice Chair Shook. Thank you, Ms. Pignata and your team. As the Chair of Public Safety, I'll take these E911 issues to the police chief and CEO Amon and see what we can do about these. And I'd like to touch base with you as well, if we can do that.
Absolutely.
After this meeting, if you all have time.
Yes,
At
but
least
we wait.
right now, unless things change, they're scheduled to present tomorrow, so.
Okay. Would you like to hear the bell again?
What's that?
You would like to hear the
Oh, I'm
bell again?
good.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
All right. Mr. Dozier.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Chair. I'll be quick. Gina and team, thank you so much for the presentation. So good to see you all again. One of the things that I did want to just elevate, something that Council President Shipman brought up with regards to daycare and how it's important to try to find all opportunities to offset city employee costs, because we know y'all ain't getting paid enough, and the cost of living in the city is going through the roof, and it continues to go through the roof. And I just want to thank y'all for your support. I know our office and our council will be working with the HR commissioner on identifying ways for city employees to participate in some of the housing opportunities that the city is pushing forward with. There's at least 4 city-owned properties being redeveloped for affordable housing. 3 are in District 4, and want to make sure that y'all know that y'all support is what helped us get that over the hump. So just thank you for that. I did want to ask, just out of curiosity, based on y'all's research and your survey of your employees, the number of city employees living out of their vehicles is alarming to me. Any employee living in their vehicle or living on the streets is unacceptable. I wanted to get a sense of the scale in which that's happening so that it can help be a call to action for us to ensure that we're moving forward as aggressively as possible to not only get folks out of their cars and off the streets, but to housing that they can raise their kids and their grandkids, so forth and so on. But just any sort of insight you can provide to that would be greatly appreciated.
I'll be glad to provide it to you, sir.
Thank you. I yield.
Ms. Bakhtiari.
Ms. Pagnata, just to follow up on one of the things, where, right now, E911 folks, Ebony, maybe you can tell me, who manages the lot that y'all park in?
It's privately owned, as far as I know, so the city pays about $40 and the employees pay $35. But we have sworn in there also.
Okay.
And they don't pay for anything. They don't pay for the parking. I guess the city absorbs all of that. But for the 911 side, the center, the employees within that center, the civilian, they are required to pay $35.
And we want to make sure y'all are saving that extra $840 a year. Okay. So I'll talk to you also about that, figure that out. And Ms. Pagnata, if you can also send me the same information
Yes, I will.
that Councilmember Dozier asked for.
Okay.
I'd really like to do that, because I know our commissioners already hit the ground running, but those housing opportunities should apply, well, one, to all city employees, but especially to all first responders, which 911 is. So, thank you.
All right. If there's nothing else, Team PACE, we thank you. Yes, sir.
Mr. Craig,
Mr.
word
Shook,
closing.
Mr. Shook, I need to, this came from a lot of employees, especially people like me who done been here a long time. Back in the day, when the other mayors was here, we used to have a city picnic for the whole city. It was for the whole, not just for public works, but for the whole city. And sanitation, you know, we feel like we are being unappreciative when it comes to things like this, because we never really hear from anybody. Unless me or either Mr. Thornhill come down here on our side and talk to you all, they feel like they are not being appreciative on anything. That's the reason I had said about the weekly pay coming back, because we feel like we are being unappreciative. And I know I done met Mr. Lewis before. He seen us out. You remember that Saturday, you seen us out on the street over there, and me and you had talked about this, about the hazardous pay, because just today, I was downtown, and we had to go downtown. I work in illegal dumping. So we had to go to these dump sites which one, the one up there in Buckhead on Muskogee. We went up there last week. When we first got up there, there was a few police up there. I was the first truck up there, so I'm sitting in my truck. I'm afraid because I don't know what these folks gonna do to me or whoever with me. When we went out on Key Road before all this happened, I was coming down the street in my truck, coming down Key Road, and a big rock came over. I called Miss Patton down and told her, a big rock hit my truck dead in the middle and broke my whole windshield out. And if it had came directly and hit me, I would have been dead on the spot.
Yes.
And that's the reason we're talking about this hazardous pay, especially when we had to go out there where these people are, because they're dangerous. It was a man today had a machete running at us. This downtown. We had to run and get it out with trucks and close the doors. Police is running. So we fear for our life out there. And I think that this should be implemented to bring this back, this hazardous pay for public works employees.
Point well taken, and we appreciate you sharing that with us.
Okay.
All right? So if that's all, Team Pace, thank you. And we will turn the front desk over to the fire union. Oh, I'm sorry, Mr. Lewis. Yeah, go ahead.
So did you just say you're fighting crime?
Yes, the other day we went to Muskogee.
Okay.
This had came on the news. We went up there. I was one of the first trucks that got there. It was like 2 police officers there.
And they attacked you?
When I know they didn't attack, but it was like they were standing in the bushes. If I had got out the truck, they probably would have came and got at me because they're afraid that we're going to grab their stuff first. That's the reason we need police officers there to protect us, because we don't have no protection. The only thing we have is like a rake in our hand or something to that extent. But these folks, I don't went to a lot of them where people actually done got to fight almost with city employees. We just up there to do our job.
I just want to clarify, I don't think it's Muskogee. Muskogee is right near Peachtree Battle.
South
It's
River.
Morosco.
That's it.
Morosco. Yeah, I just wanted for the
Across
camera to
from
know
the
which
post
location.
The post office, right? Yeah, you're right.
That's correct. Thank you.
You're right.
Okay.
Hey, can I say, man, I'm sorry you had to go through that full out. I'm sorry you had to go through that full out.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I don't know how we can, but that hazard pay, we got to make sure we make folks right at least.
Because when we go up there special, because I'm in illegal dumping.
And thank you for your service too, by the way.
I'm in illegal dumping, and when we go up there, it just, the smell is just horrible. The mask just ain't doing it. It's just not doing it. We had to get gloves every day. Not that we want to, we have to.
And you do this all over. You do illegal dumping all over the city, but over here it's just a little worse.
We go everywhere
How many
in the
years?
city. I've been doing it since we started it.
And this is the worst you've seen over there by the. All right, I appreciate you. Thank you. I know we got to get to the next person, but I just had to hear you say you've been fighting, you've been over there. I appreciate you.
We appreciate the detail, the good, the bad, and the ugly. So thank you again.
Thank you, Council. Thank you.
All right, Fire, you're up.